call the meeting of the Pocahontas County Board of Education for November the 12th, 2024 to order. First, we'll say a pledge of allegiance to the flag. Do we have a flag?
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with humanity.
Okay. All members are present. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the Board of Education meeting held on October 15, 2024. To have a motion.
I'll second.
Who made the motion? Morgan made the motion. Nate second. Everybody got a chance to read over the minutes? Any questions? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 2 is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved. I'll second.
Nate second. Okay, any additions or corrections to the agenda?
Corrections on number 14. It's within your agenda, like at the very beginning.
All in here.
We need to remove Annual Man. She sent me an email over the weekend. She's just doesn't have time to get the,
Just remove that one altogether.
yes. We're working on the replacement.
Okay.
And number 16.
Okay.
It's a fundraiser for Green Bank. We need to add a fundraiser for Marlington Middle. It's spices.
And Mornington Middle.
Yeah. Marlington Middle will be selling spices. And then number 19, which is personnel. Alan Taylor, volunteer Green Bank girls basketball coach.
We need to add.
Yes.
Okay. Any other additions or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Delegations, do we have any? No delegations? Superintendent report and special recognitions.
Just giving you some numbers. We've been attending some various meetings. They keep telling us that we need to give numbers out at each board meeting. I wanted to say that we need to really celebrate the students and staff that had 100% attendance for the first grading period. What we did this year was each one of them received a postcard from me. We're also working on some banners or a poster or something to put in the school that had the best attendance for each 9 weeks. We had 89 students with perfect attendance. Our unexcused absences were 2,048. We had 45 staff members with perfect attendance. The county average for attendance was 90.12. And Green Bank had the highest school average for student attendance at 92.54. So I want to put some kind of banner at Green Bank to celebrate that. We also, this was as of last Thursday, we had 114 homeschoolers in the county and 17 Hope Scholarship to that. And Sherry, when she's here next time, can tell me what that costs the county as well. We had a total of 891 students, so we are dropping, yeah. Also, Christy Hammons, and she's coming next month to give us a technology update. But in response to some of the needs that we heard at Green Bank during their LSIC presentation, there is a substitute campaign going on social media. She's created the information, the graphic to put out. I asked Ollie if she's had any more contacts from anyone, and so far,
Like 3 today.
okay, perfect, because that was different than when I asked her early this morning, so that's good. So hopefully we'll get some some people interested. Let's see, emergency Wi-Fi at Green Bank. I want to thank our technology department, especially Christy Hammonds. She's been attending the emergency response meetings with Mr. Grimes and Mr. McNabb. And she heard about the concern and how like when Mike and Kevin and them were up with the Green Bank situation. And so they have worked with a program in order for them to be able to communicate during those situations. So I know it's a little antiquated, but it's something.
It's an excellent solution. It's an outside of the box solution. That's exactly what it takes to operate in an X-rated box.
Mike, excuse me.
No, go ahead.
I seen Randolph County, some counties in Virginia, Pendleton County had done away with the quiet zone.
So we have counties, this came at the request of Congress. They've asked us, they're not aware of any counties having struggles with radio communications in the quiet zone. So they asked counties to pass resolution to bring an awareness of that. To date, there's been 10 counties in West Virginia, 1 county, Augusta County, Virginia. We expect the same from Allen County. So it's last week we speak with their, I was hopeful that they follow suit as well. And those are just resolutions to bring awareness to the Congress, to let them know that they're struggling with communications in nice radio quiet zone.
No, that's perfect. Also, again, I'm just giving some updates. The updates from the West Virginia Department of Education, the Accountability Department of the state has been with us for a total of 4 days, conducting interviews. And today, Derek Lambert and Lauren Landry, they're really the ones that are on the ground working with us from the Office of Teaching and Learning of Secondary Education. They were back at the high school today and tomorrow working on transcripts. So we're making leeway. Let's see, Strive. Ms. Turtipo, Ms. Shiplin and I attended a Strive meeting in Lewisburg last week, really talking about collecting data based on responses from the various meetings. Deidre Klein is our Strive quadrant contact. Deidre is a retired superintendent from Wyoming County. And so what their questions really are, what are our needs in utilizing data to build a system of support for students? Because these questions were results of the individual conversations she had with each of the school systems. What support do we need to support our ECATs, our aides in those grades K through 3? What about special education, middle school support, and attendance and behaviors? Well, we all said, we all agree. I mean, every county you go to, we have really very similar concerns. Also wanted to mention that Jeff Campbell, the West Virginia House of Delegates, he serves the Hillsborough and Marlington areas, presented a check from the Local Economic Development Assistant Grant. And this grant actually will provide the signage for Hillsborough Elementary, Marlington Elementary, and Marlington Middle, because those are in his leader. And the signs, Becky Spencer has worked on creating those signs. And it will be like, no weapons, no drugs, closed campus, during school hours. And so she's working on designing those, and we'll get those with those funds. And then Christy Tritipo wanted me to give you an update as well. She's going to be here tonight. But I think she emailed all the board members telling you the good news that we are now, our pre-K program review only has one area of concern, and that is, as a county collaborative early childhood core team, they need to update the current program assessment and continuous quality improvement process to include data from classroom observations, and they're working on it. So I want to give a shout out to her. She's really done a lot of work with pre-K and special ed. And then at this time, I'm gonna have Mr. Gibson and Mr. Casino do their presentation, if that's okay. Because we are getting ready to go to the school building authority to ask for our needs grant. And it will be Tuesday, November the 19th at 1:30 in Charleston. So be thinking about us as we enter down there. We're gonna go with us as well. That do you want? Your
So I'm having, with this lovely brand new computer, horrible problems. And I cannot retrieve the file on the presentation. What we have tonight is, my plan was to actually be able to get the computer to work. To show you year one measurement verification, which I can't recite from my head, but just to kind of go through it. When we entered into the project, it's a guaranteed energy savings project. So what that does is we looked at HVAC, lighting, about all the schools to say, all right, how can we save money? And ultimately, this report, you receive this on an annual basis, and this proves out, did you really save the money we guaranteed you'd save? Yes, you did. You actually exceeded that by a considerable amount. Unfortunately, to have a decent presentation and perhaps at a subsequent meeting, I can bring it to you and show you. I'm happy to share the copy of it with you. We're exceeding that number by about 10-15%. So during that guaranteed savings period, savings guarantee can go on for 15 years if you want. That measurement verification report, something you pay for annually. Now, this is all built into the savings. So assuming that you decided to pay for the measurement verification for the next 15 years, you could do so. You may not want to. You know, Sharon and Blaine, we talked about this, and because you're exceeding the guarantee, you're going to say, well, why do I need you to pay you for a report to tell me what I already kind of know? Honestly, I can show Sherry and Dwayne how to do this internally so that you can sort of look at that without going through all the proof and so forth. But yeah, it's a good story to tell, and I apologize that I don't have this with me. See, you don't have your laptop with you, do you?
It's right here. It's on the screen. What do you need?
Call that up. Email, I did send you. Thank you very much. It has something to do with this board. For many years, every time I've presented to this board, Lynn can attest to this, I have had, and Sam, you remember, how many technical difficulties, you know, they should just give me a chalkboard.
Okay, so measurement verification?
Yep, measurement verification, I would have sent that probably end of September.
Oh.
So sorry.
Oh, that was November, so that's not it.
Patience.
All back, keep digging.
Just an update? And September 24th.
September 24th, yep, should be powerful.
Needs me, yep.
That's pretty cool, 10 to 15% ahead of projected savings. I mean, you know, what do you attribute that to?
Sam, the reason for that is there's a few reasons, okay? Number one, if you hire me to work on your crew, you say, hey, Andy, can you get this job done today? Even if I know I can, it's like, I could probably finish it by the end of the day. Knowing full well in the back of my mind, I can get that done in 5 hours. Then I can come back to you, my boss, and say, hey, I did a great job. That's one piece of it. You never want to promise people more than you know you can deliver on.
Yeah.
That's critical. But there's another component to this. I think that's the one for the high school.
Use your clicker.
Might have to actually, oh, yeah.
That's a needs project.
Okay, so you don't need this presentation?
Actually, if you have the other one. We should probably keep this one open though. I can talk about that.
Emails.
Absolutely amazing. I had a 5-year-old laptop, so we're not, it was a nice new thing. There's a reason I like driving my 1978 6. When I fired that truck up,
That doesn't. view of year one. Those are PDFs. Just an update, that's the SBA. Revised documents. Few things.
Maybe,
Ones
is it review, you want M&B?
right here. But that's just
I think it's up.
review of year one.
Yep.
Okay, so you have PDFs. This report
Oh, bring up that PDF.
right here.
I can work from that. Awesome, thank you.
Mhm. Come on. Well. It's going
I didn't realize that perhaps the technical difficulties I have are contagious.
You are not going with me next week. On this second, on second thought, you are now. Yeah,
Sure you want me to go to that meeting?
I know.
You stay away from me.
yes. Come on. Guys. Or actions, I just want you to open.
Just like, you know,
Oh. And you sent it to me.
See, if I can do.
That's
really work for-
I'll go with it. How many kids got some
report here.
I can. It's like, I had 2 weeks for that.
That doesn't have-
Yeah. I would have put more than 5 seconds. It'll be a one.
You know,
I think that.
folks, I'm not gonna tie you up. I'll come back and write it one time. Good. One thing I'd like to basically ask everyone on the road to do is next week we interview with the Leeds project, which we talked about a few months ago. And, obviously we all know that these are extremely competitive, but in terms of the improvements, this would be phenomenal. The HVAC equipment in that building is shot. The safety features, student security, connecting the buildings together so students aren't walking outside, so. Lynn has an interview next week. I'll be along with her. My friend Mike Pickens, who's Department of Education guy for a lot of years, he'll be with us. But yeah, if everyone could say a prayer, that would be great. And I guess
when is that?
November the 19th at 1:30.
it's 19:1:30.
Everybody will be there presenting.
Yeah, we are the last presentation. So,
I'll be the last one.
mhm.
Hey, very sure. That's good luck.
Well, that's what somebody else said. So the presentations start on Monday, November the 18th. And of course, continue through the 19th and we are going splits. So I'm hoping
That's very good.
we're gonna end with a bang.
I'm all on board with that. All on board.
What's the sum value you're seeking? The sum, what's the value you're seeking?
We're asking the school building authority, calling from the top of my head, about $5 million. So the way that's gonna break down is you've got two components to it. One is replacing the geothermal equipment. And 50% of that now, IRS electric pay program, they're gonna write us a check for half of it. And Dana Womack at the school building authority said, we'd accept that as a local match. unofficially, I've been told that he was pleased with that level of local match because we're a poor county. So he was quite happy with that. Let's hope. You know, the other architectural improvements, the panel boxes, we were discussing this. Those circuit breakers, they're beyond old, they're dangerous, you know. What you were telling me, the one you couldn't trip the
Yeah, I
breaker.
couldn't even. It felt like I was arc welding in the bathroom, which someone shouldn't have done, but it wouldn't trip.
I don't know, I had extension cord short out on his watch and finally burnt off my hand.
Wow.
The person was it.
Yeah, he's a good breaker.
It was between the sign, the man and the English way, and all the kids were dying laughing at me up there.
Good work. Yeah. So this is our team, and we're gonna add, Mr. Pickens as well. One of our major concerns is that safety with the, access is wide open there to students going between the main building and the CTE building. This is where we're proposing that we want, enclosed corridors. And then, of course, we go into, here's what we have currently. And then we go into the public restrooms. All of them have a cinder block wall with entrance, which is really hindering the handicapped guests that we have. And again, we're just asking for these upgrades mainly because we're not ADA compliant. Also replacing the geothermal heat pumps. We're actually, this is a draft, we're working on it in more detail tomorrow. Replacing auditorium heat pumps because they're over 20 years old, they're limiting themselves. It's one of the one that gets me. This is the one that gets me. Look at this, Frosty. That's the main switch here in that school. When
It's original 1968, 69, 2008 system.
That's one of the first we built.
Yeah.
It's really months ago.
So when we walked in there the other day with the SBA representative and Mr. Gibson, they showed me this. I was like, I feel like I'm back at the Greenbrier showing the bunker. Because I worked over there when the bunker became public.
Yes.
And I was like, this is exactly what it looks like downstairs where, you know, I was just, I couldn't believe that's what we're working with. The data cabling, because we have the one-to-one, we have lithium boards, we just feel we need more access. The exterior windows, just making more security there. This is the funding. This is our request. I'm working on this slide, just showing where the major money is actually going into the heat pumps. At least these were just rough numbers.
No,
And
Very
he's
good.
gonna give them to me
Summary.
later, and then, we're gonna go into the energy savings, so we'll add some about that. And then, you know, just the facts. And we opened in 69, we have 3 student buildings, our heating and, you know, HVAC is beyond the life expectancy. There you go, just more, you know, here we are. And then our last is like, we're asking for these upgrades so that we can keep our school open for future generations. We're not asking for a complete new school, which would be a dream, but I don't think at this time we want to get these upgrades so we can be there for quite some time. But again, it's like things that a lot of people won't see that happen. When you look at that price tag, you think you should be walking into ta-da, but as you all know, I mean, just looking at that, those heat pumps that.
26 million.
Yeah. So that's the presentation that we're working on. Again, I'll be meeting with Morgan and Andy and Mike, tomorrow morning and planning.
You know, in the case of the data matter, you've got a building, there's nothing wrong with that building. So the school building authority kind of, they're facing 2 challenges. Either A, they're gonna give us the money we need to help move the school along and keep it in good condition. Or B, they're gonna kick the can down the road and then they're gonna look at replacing that school in 10 or 15 years. You know, how do you want to spend your money? Want to spend $1 today or $100 in 3 weeks? And they seem to be buying into that logic, hopefully.
I heard you talk a little bit before about the satellite. Solar. Where did that go, above the bus garage? In that field?
That's sort of what we're thinking. So,
I know Petersburg. I think they got it. Oh,
right, that, the solar, I want to have a separate conversation with you. In fact, what I'm doing is I'm having a webinar, and it's going on statewide. It's not a window commercial. This is, if you're gonna do a power purchase agreement or you're gonna own solar, what are the things you look for? The fear that I have with solar is because it's something brand new. Be folks out there that aren't scrupulous. I just had this conversation a few weeks ago with Randolph County. And they needed to think it through. Dr. Dilly was like, okay, we need to put the brakes on that. Solar in this case for the high school is such a great payback that 25. So if I'm looking at payback, say 20 years, I'm pretty skeptical of that. Now, when the payback is 12 years and they're warranted for 25, okay, that gives you 13 years where this thing's just providing power. So we had planned to say, well, we want to use this as part of our local match. Something happened with either the SBA or the state board. I don't know what happened. You never, ever bring up solar. I brought it up to Joyce Van Gilder. Joyce loves solar. She's the best thing in the world. Brought it up to Joyce and she jumped all over it. And it's like, okay. And
I know we talked about it before.
yep. So what we can do is there's always a plan B. No matter what happens, you need some way to take care of that equipment. That's what I. Heaven forbid that we're in case. Our SBA grant. I think I have a plan worked out to make it work for it. One way or another, it's got to get replaced and the county doesn't have the money. So that's, hopefully we don't need to have that conversation. But if we do, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, how do we make this fault tolerant? Make sure Pocahontas County's okay. That's fine.
What if they say, you know, we'll fund you, we can't do the whole thing? What would be your preference in that?
And that's what we're gonna discuss tomorrow. For me, I'm looking at the safety issue of the buildings.
It's
But
not,
then I'm also looking at that as electrical.
Yeah.
That's like from the dinosaur.
in the school building authority, the initial discussion we had was Joyce Van Gilder, Jim Wilson, our architect, then you were there, obviously. And Jim come out and gives them a real good idea of, okay, this is the big picture of what we want to do. And they were like, okay, call this down, you know. Jim's a great guy, you know, and if we had an unlimited amount of money, sure, we could do all kinds of cool things, but we don't. You know,
Just prioritize what you need.
Right, and that's,
Scenario.
and Joyce was happy with it, and, you know, and I think Dana was too, so, yeah. That presentation is excellent. When it's first I've seen it, that's been a really nice job.
well, when he said, such a for non-marketing, I'm like, is this what you needed?
Absolutely. So thank you very, very much. It's not the pretty PowerPoint. I'll send you the pretty PowerPoint. Thank you a million. So the guaranteed energy savings were 129,301. You came up with 139,728, beating that guarantee, that's where you want to be. The elements that went into it, interior lighting, exterior lighting, HVAC controls, because prior to that time, you had manual control, computer power management, and then the sprinkler upgrades. Because at Marlinton Elementary, that sprinkler system was eating $8,000 a year out of your budget. It was shot, was the original 1977. So that's the sum and substance of what I have in the breakdown, which I'll be glad to send you a copy. It shows you a building by building analysis. You say, which buildings am I saving more than, you're saving more in all your buildings as compared to the guarantee, but really, really great savings in each level of building. And there's another piece of it, whether it's under a guarantee or not. I've worked with Pocahontas County for a number of years. Barber County is the same story. I worked with Barber County for 13 years. whether it's in warranty or not, I'm accountable and beholden to all of you. So if you have a problem, we're here. We've been in business almost 85 years. I'm not going anyplace. I'm kind of like getting roof tar on you. Once you're stuck with me, you scrub all your light won't come off. Let's see. And this is the full report, the executive summary, which of course everyone has a copy of that. I'm going to send you the truncated version of it, but if you want to look at the PDF copy and drill through it, no problem. But there's engineering calcs that go behind all of these things. The other thing, and I don't know if I've mentioned this, when you do measurement and verification, it's the same thing as doing financial statements. So in other words, if someone said, I want to audit the books and came to Sherry and said, I need to audit this, these are audited. You could hire an independent engineer and they could audit. So.
Do you need anything else on this? Do
Beg pardon?
you need anything else?
No, I think we're all good. I'll send a copy of the report
Okay.
over. But, yeah. You know, once you get the report, if anyone has, don't ever hesitate to pick up the phone, give me a call. I'll answer.
And this is all separate from like the gym floor replacement and grass project.
That was an LIP project, which is,
That's actually happening. We've been granted that.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And on the day after graduation at the high school, they start the gym.
So, oh, but. See, gym floor. Gym floor.
it's about time for it. You know, the gym floor is important and such, but to address the nuts and bolts needs of that building, you know,
Agreed.
that building's the same age as the high school. I went to school. There's nothing wrong with that building. It shows its age. That was opened in 1970. It's great. You know, but it's, yeah.
I went to high school there.
Pardon?
I went to high school there.
I need to.
But I went to one the same age, so.
Thank you very much. Once again, you saved.
Hey, I'm saying funny, so
Thank you very, very much.
go have.
Between
dinner.
76.
See you at 10.
Sounds good. Okay.
Hey,
Take care.
Thanks. Anybody got
Thank
any
you
more
all
questions?
much.
for-
I really appreciate it.
Like I said, if we don't get the full funding, we're gonna start prioritizing what we.
Yes.
whatever they give us.
And, you know, if you all want to, you've seen just quickly there, I showed you what we're asking for. If you want to just email me, you know, what you think of the priorities. And like I say, Dwayne and Andy and Mike Pickens, and Morgan will look at tomorrow because I want to put them in my presentation is what our priorities are. And also the individual funding for each one of those.
You're probably, Dwayne's gonna have a better idea than Morgan and we are. Yeah.
So that's.
You guys work there in there.
Yeah, you all don't know, we're,
You've seen all the skeletons.
yeah.
Skeletons, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember any of those, yeah.
It was interesting walking through and actually, I told Dwayne, I said, I want to actually see what I'm talking about and touch it. And I was like, holy Toledo. It's amazing. Especially when I walked in there and like I said, I felt like I was at the bunker.
Honestly, that would be my last thing is where the main distribution is.
Right.
Change the sub feeds. Because they won't trip.
But we,
But those, that MDP, they usually stay pretty good.
I guess that's why they built them that way.
But those sub feeds.
I'm just wondering if that thing is ever.
I ain't that about reset.
That's what I'm worried about, isn't it?
There's some around high school.
And you got.
Don't count it.
Geo, is there like a water system? Yeah, you all think that silo was built for what? Yeah, okay. That's the end of my update. Are you on next? Well, no, let me see. Okay, wait.
Information reports, academic upgrades, Joseph Van Meter, student representative.
Good afternoon. I only have two concerns tonight. There is a concern with our Weebus grading system. Parents can't log on and see their children's grades right now. And students can't see their 9 weeks percentage. They can only see a letter grade, which isn't entirely helpful. Tutoring, it's going fairly well. Tutoring is for students that have a D or an F in a class. but there are some students that are in tutoring that have already turned in assignments and they can't change the grade because teachers haven't updated grades, so they're still being forced into tutoring, when there's no need for them to be in tutoring. On a positive note, junior committee has started fundraising and a prom will be held at the firehouse in Arlington in May. And we had Halloween activities, the school planned for us in activity period. We had a few games and some students won goodie baskets. And the community club, some members of the community club went out during Halloween and gave out goodie bags with like other messages on them and a few candies. And I didn't want to brag about myself, but I was told to tonight. My interview went pretty well for United States Senate Youth Program, but I won't know the results of moving on until December. So just the sitting duck.
But you're one of six.
Yes.
Good luck.
So thank you.
Thank you.
And just a little bit about the tutoring. I don't have the exact numbers, but I know they have gone down drastically from who needed intervention to now. I know.
We started in triple digits and now we're in the double digits.
Right. So I think that's a positive. Great.
Triple digits?
Yeah, we started with, I want to say it was 120 students. I do think that some of those were like overlapped, so there were 120 some Ds and Fs. Maybe not necessarily each one of those came from one kid or whatever, it could be a little of that. But we're down into double digits of Ds and Fs on the school. Which is proper.
If you do any fundraisers, please make sure to include the board office because we would support the schools. So you would be sent the link. There we go. That's what I figured. Somebody would get us on there.
Weavis is administered by the state, right? We
Yes,
really-
I made a note here for Ms. Shiplet to it's a new program for this year. And so I know there's some kinks to work out, but I'll let Ms. Shiplet know.
Any other questions? Mike O'Brien, Communications Tower at Mornington Middle School.
Good evening, everybody. How are you?
Wonderful. Sorry yourself.
Good. Apologize, I didn't make one copies. It's back.
Hand around.
Season to
You're good at hand stuff.
a little bit, we're always working to better our emergency communication system in Pocahontas County, and with that includes Board of Education communications. We purchased this property down here on Drew. We plan to build a new communications tower there. The excavation work has already been complete. The environmental studies have already been done. We have the site at Thomas Town Tower, 2 miles east of Marlington there. If you're familiar with that. We need this site behind the Marlington Middle School to get from Thomastown to give us a path to the Drew Mountain site. And it puts us in a good alignment with the future 911 center to be built behind the hospital. Of course, lacking the funding, we've got everything we need but the money, though. It's kind of like your own points. So, we're, as we continue to do that, we want to propose to build a 198-foot communications tower up in the upper back corner behind the Marlington Middle School. We've met with Dwayne at the site. He's looked the site over. We'll have to work an MOU with the hospital staff. There's an old skid road that comes off Duncan Road, kind of goes up there. We'd like to clean that out and access it that way to that site. And then we would like to have a 50-foot by 50-foot area up in that corner that's going to build a tower for communications. We're here tonight to try to get the verbal approval of you guys to start that process. After we have the verbal from you guys, the next step for us, we'll hire a surveyor. We'll go up there, we'll lay off the lots and get that put out in a plat format. We'll have the prosecutor's office draft an MOU for you. We'll start the FAA, the FCC application, and there's what we call EHP, Environmental Historic Preservation Study that has to be done. This stuff takes 6-8 months to get complete. So we're kind of here tonight to get a verbal green light from you guys to build that tower there and start that process, which will help everybody. It'll give the board office, Marlington Middle School, portable radio access into the system. Once we get our system complete, that they were talk from a portable radio, hopefully any school bus in this county can use it.
I don't have any problem with it. You.
Now I got a couple questions. There's, if my memory serves, there's no power lines or nothing that they could hit.
There is no power lines.
They're stopped down here.
Overhead comes up to about right here. We'll have to make it, or make it on this side. Our plan is looking at that.
There's a pole back here, but it comes up around this way.
We'll probably, with permission of you guys, put underground utility to that. We was initially looking over in this area, but there was discussion of future expansion, future school opportunities every year. So I'm trying to think where that end pole's at.
Well, there's a transfer pole right here in the back that feeds that, but there's a buckle pole right here on that corner. You can get it. Or that, I don't think there's anything through there. I don't believe.
That's what our plans, we'd like to, of course, ever get things fall through.
Well, I just want to overhead with the kids out there.
Well, as we get closer to our thought process was, maybe the forestry class be interested in cutting the trees and pressing the lot, and maybe the carpentry class will pour concrete shelter. Maybe the carpentry class and want to set the truss rafters, put the roof on our building and set the door in, do some things like that. So as well as we get closer.
That would be the only thing, except we end up having to give you right away for utilities and stuff too. Yeah.
And then I'm a fan of future things. I'd like to bury a couple extra conduits in there. There was some discussion with.
That was my next question.
Well, Miss Scotchy, there was some discussions with Nebraska on that, and she would like to have some cameras to watch that. And we've talked to Joe Clendenin about that a little bit, and.
I'd like for us to be able to utilize that with whatever.
Absolutely.
Now, what do you got? You got any plans on any other outside entities coming in to?
We don't, but the way the MOU will be written, if, let's say a cell carrier wants to come to that tower, they'll negotiate with you guys for space on that tower. One in the tower, and work that MOU, but any kind of thing, or as a monetary value or trade-off, they'll have to work with us to put that in the MOU.
So maintenance of the road to it, maintenance around the tower.
I don't know if we own back over the skid road.
The hospital like that and work that with
Right,
them.
yeah.
I don't want just any radio vendor having to, especially if your kids is up on the playground. I'd like to avoid that area at all costs and put a road straight up to that site. Be a 50-foot by 50-foot area, will have a fence containment around it, so nobody's going to climb the tower, things like that.
But I know that we have towers on, leased on some property, and if they go up to maintain.
We'll make sure we write in that MOU, Pocahontas County will be responsible for any maintenance to the or access to the site, absolutely.
That's my only concerns is you have to have right of way power and we won't be able to use it if we need it.
Absolutely, and I'd like to bury a couple of these conduits in here too, just because you just never know where the future might hold.
No, we can't vote on everything's on the agenda, but.
Right.
I don't see
Well, that's what he asked if we could just, give you the information and make, see if we can.
You have to get a road up and then bring it back for us.
Yes.
Have the plot laid out, we'll have the MOU written, so it's official, and it's recorded, we'll give you guys the opportunity to, you're able to redo it and all that, if.
Ms. Paulson can put it on the agenda.
Sounds great.
Thank you all.
Like you're on the agenda later.
Yes, yes, sir.
Thank you. Joanna Burkhinder, County Numeracy Team for a update.
Whole crew,
2 plus 2 is.
but you're about time out. You're about to out, sir. All right, well, thanks for having me today. It's, I love, having an opportunity to keep you in meetings too long. Just kidding. I'll try not to, today.
You got 5 minutes.
So just to start with, our math K-12 program is entirely data driven, and the focus of a lot of my time, I work for you half time. Of course, I work for you 20 hours a week. But a big focus that I've had in the last 2 years is the Third Grade Success Act and its implementation. We use one benchmark for little guys, and we use a state issued benchmark, in part because it's free, and in part because it aligns directly with our end of year testing in grades 3 through 8. And then Casey's going to share a little bit about the high school, who uses the PSAT, SAT suite of assessments, and SAT is our official test for 11th grade. So we try to align everything as well as possible. This is the only kind of private vendor separate that we use. But we take this data to kind of see, are we growing kids? And that should be your fundamental concern for anything you spend money on in the system, should be growing kids. We get some kids that are differently ready for school when they start school. And so not everybody's on the same level. Not everybody needs to be measured by the same metric. A kiddo who has a full belly and 2 parents at home every night is in a different starting spot than a kiddo who doesn't. And we know that really well. But I'm really proud of the efforts that our K-3 teachers have made
all of these, but particularly in the last couple of years, dealing with a really new piece of legislation that changed a lot of things, hired a lot of new people and asked us to do things pretty differently. And, you know, dark green means the biggest amount of success for that grade band tested. And you're kind of seeing what happened over the course of last year.
Wow.
Data from all grade levels. So that dark green is above grade level testing. And that dark red means significantly behind. So we need to really do something about kiddos who are in that level. We have likewise assessment data that's really important to me to look at, not only in our proficiency, but to compare to the state. So we want to be #1 in math in this county. We're well on our way, and we need to look with a critical eye at where we're not. And so these, you can sort of see if I'm doing the right thing here. Do I have a red dot? Yeah, but you can't see it. Grade level, this is the state's proficiency level. This is our proficiency level. What's the difference compared to the state? And then the percent of increase compared to state average. So you'll see West Virginia is 18% proficient at the high school level. So even though that's a gain of 9 points, it's a percentage change of 50%. Our 11th grades are way higher than state average in terms of college and career readiness at the end of 11th grade. So this is an 11th grade test saying, are you ready to go to college or to a career? Do you have the math aptitude to do those things? We do have some places where we have some concern that we are below state average. A percentage of, like, compared to state average, a loss of, when we're looking at around 70 kids per grade level, then every kid's worth more than 1 percentage point. So it's really important to remember that. And it's also important to look at scale scores, but we don't want to write this away, but this is a concern. So I wanted to look at a couple of things that I noticed when I was doing analysis without keeping you here forever. But instead, I just went back and looked at, by grade level, how much do we grow kids in a year? So instead of comparing just kids' outcomes, grade level by grade level, what happens if you look at how much kids grew? So this is at the end of school year last year, 2023, excuse me. In the course of a year, you can kind of see we had more kids passing at a grade level in grades 6, 7, and 8. So in our middle schools, kids were moving. In the elementary schools, grades tested. You can't do this for third because you don't have a comparative study from the grade before. We were losing ground in those 2 grade levels. And one thing I noticed is that we're losing the most ground at places where we're asking teachers to teach new to grade level. Now, I don't mean that they're new teachers. I mean they're new to that grade level. So for example, you take somebody who's taught kindergarten for a long time and you put them in a 4th grade classroom. Are they fully certified? Sure. Are they deeply in touch with the content and the common misconceptions of that grade level? No, they're not. And that comes with a serious lift. So that's 2023. Last year, we had way more people new to grade level on maternity leave or medical leave. And we're noticing that we see those common trends not following a particular grade level, but following the grade levels where we have high numbers of people either new to the classroom or out of the classroom. So again, that's a lot of red, but we're looking at cohort growth and kind of comparing that back to, we're doing okay compared to the state. We're doing really well by the time we turn kids out. And that's really our business here, right? We're trying to raise kids through a whole system. We don't need to lose our heads over any one grade level. But I think it's important to note that. And important to note that we need to really be thinking about anything we can do to keep teachers happy here, teaching the same grade level more than 1 year, and well supported. If they're not, or if they're having babies, we need to be really mindful as a district and at levels to make sure that we're putting extra supports where those things are happening. I want to keep in mind that all of these grade levels come to being ready to go right on the job when you're done with high school, or be successful and have the money to go to college. And we have a responsibility to get everybody to the end of their sophomore year ready for either of those things. We can't let kids in 8th grade say, I'm not going to school, or I'm definitely going to the Army, because kids aren't 18 yet. They don't know what they're doing, and we have that responsibility. So I want to say thank you for your long investment into math, and I want to say a big thank you to all the folks in our system, because we're doing something pretty cool here. There have been a big studies in the last 2 years. This is from Penn Wharton at UPenn, but you can see things at Harvard. Everybody agrees these outcome tests not just SAT and ACT, but also the Armed Forces qualifying tests, which determine what jobs you're allowed to do in the armed forces. All of those things correlate really closely with parent income. And you can think of all kinds of reasons why that's true, right? You know, more parent income probably means 2 people at home. More parent income probably means you can never worry about food, right? So I just kind of put that on there, but I think it's a really big deal that by district, we're 3rd as a high school in math in this state, even though we're 50th by median income rating. And that's by district. And that is a credit to every single person who taught one of last year's 11th graders. This is this year's seniors. And it is a system that builds on each other. So the people you're going to hear from today are primarily elementary teachers. But I want to make sure that we say this often, loudly, so that everybody can understand. It's not just our 11th grade teachers. It's not just, you know, Casey in her pre-calc class. It's not that it's not that, but it's also the system that's building this, the families that are invested. My position's not mandated. You guys choose to have a math coach, and you've chosen that for 10 years now. And it's the continual investment that we make in this, and it is paying off, and we are beating some significant odds here, which is really, really cool. By high school, we're 10th, and I think it's important to kind of keep that in mind. And this is a shout out to the community of people who, I know that families have their own choices with what they want to do with their kids, but I want to just uplift that when we did this, I noticed that in every virtual academy, the highest pass rate anyone had was 3%.
Wow.
There's a reason we still need teachers.
Yeah.
Kids don't learn math the same way through independent study or on virtual classes as they do with real people. And so I just, from my perspective, I just want to make sure that I say from my role, if virtual's not working out for you, come back.
Hey, Jamie,
Like, yeah,
bring it, go back to the,
one before.
yeah. Before. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you recognize some of those areas, right? I mean, that's, we're an outlier here, and I think both of those are really important. It's easier to find those rankings by school for a high school because there's only one grade level, so you don't have the weird averages things where you don't know how many kids are in each grade level. So we can't do that for schools at other grade levels like we can for the high school. Somebody probably could, but I don't think you guys want to pay me to do that. You want to have me work with kids and teachers. So this kind of idea has been on my mind a lot lately. What do you do when you've taken these first steps towards success and you have a coherent program and you've got some awesome teachers, other than advocate to keep them and listen to them and ask them what makes them happy? As board members, one of the best things you can do is hang on to great teachers. But the second is, how do we get kids to do more of the math? So I love this idea that the brain uses to decide whether or not they want to get involved in learning and hang on to learning is whether or not it makes any sense to them, and then whether or not it has anything to do with them. And anything to do with them does have to do with, like, you know, math of real life, but it has a lot more to do with math that tickles your brain. So even Sudoku puzzles can have something to do with a kid. They can feel a personal investment in it. And we're really trying to make that actionable this year. So I want to show you, there's some wonderful teachers in this room right now. And I want to show you a little video action from one of these teachers. I adore Miss Gina Hardesty for a variety of reasons. But one is, she's one teacher. I work with teachers by asking them, you know, to sign up. They don't have to sign up for me, most do, but they sign up either for, let's do something together. You observe me, I'll give you some feedback. BK, come do this because this thing's not working. Let me watch you and give you feedback. So it really is a kind of bi-directional fluid thing. And sometimes teachers say, what are you fired up about? Just try that. So Gina, let me try with little people what we've been developing at the middle and high school for a long time, which is to get out of kids' way and see what sense they can make out of context-rich math problems. So these are some second graders, and direct instructional fractions is not a second grade idea. And these second graders were just told a story that they went to a friend's house, and they're there with, do you remember the friends' names? I'm probably gonna make them up right now, but yourself, Anna, and Jim Bob. I don't really remember what the other guy's name was. It might have been Bob or Jim, or it could have been both of them. And Ann's mom made some cookies. She makes 6 of them, but she has a rule that Ann can only have 1. So what are you gonna do with the rest of the cookies? So you'll notice about this problem that it is relevant. People care if they get enough cookies. They do. And in the very beginning, which I didn't capture here, kids did try to get Gina's attention and my attention. And one thing I can tell about the way a teacher's classroom is how kids behave shows me what that teacher's invested in.
Yeah.
And they only ask just for a second. The first moment that Gina says, I'm not helping you. You guys are going to figure it out on your own. And never asked again. That's a really wild thing. You won't see that very often.
And they didn't start whining and they didn't give it.
Oh, no. So this is just me standing back when they weren't paying any attention to me. And you can see what we're trying to build in all Pocahontas County classrooms right now. And you guys can even speak out. What do you notice about this? These are 2nd graders.
2nd graders.
Yeah. Mom.
Oh. Oh, that's sad. I don't know what's happening right there.
Hey, yeah.
Okay. I'm only sad about this. I guess I'm gonna have to narrate this part because the image isn't here. But a while of this video is just the classroom action, and then the end of it is the kiddos going from group to group and listening to one another what they think the best solution is to these cookies. And then kids just battering each other with questions, all mathematical questions, without intervention from teachers at all. This is the stuff that my math heart is made of, and we really are trying to build this kind of independence and agency, certainly for our bigger kids. And I'm sure some of you've managed people, you manage people. Don't you have sometimes when there's 20 people who can't work on a project together like our 2nd graders can? So I feel pretty proud of that. I'm really grateful to Gina and many others. I'm just calling out Gina right now because those were kids for allowing that kind of partnership for us to just be able to learn together how things work and don't. And sometimes I come in and try an idea and it's a total bust. You've seen this a lot in your life. So it's not that I don't come into classrooms with answers, but instead just with questions that we can work on together. And I think with that, I am going to just let you know that much like last year, there was a literacy rollout. This year, there has been a statewide numeracy rollout for numeracy teams, and I'm on that team. We did have an administrator from Remake on that team who's not able to continue with us right now, but she did go to the first meetings. And then we have 3 teachers on that team. We're meant to meet with a specialist monthly and develop and share a numeracy plan with the district. I will say that in the beginning, I can be kind of a pain because I definitely have a vision for what's happening for math here, and we have awesome people here. And so when somebody says, no, you got to do this, sometimes I'm like, for what reason? Right. And so we did ask if we had to use all of their templates for planning stuff, and the answer was no. And in fact, I think they're using some of our stuff, which is kind of cool. We shared all of that with them. So Gina, you want to take it from?
I don't need to get up.
Okay.
I just thought, so Joanna and Stephanie invited me to be on this team, and we went to Lewisburg for a day to meet with other counties and people from the state. And when we got there, it was very overwhelming for me just being a teacher because most of the other teams didn't have any teachers on them at all. It was all like higher ups in the board office and coaches and like all people and principals from up there. So it was kind of intimidating. But when they started going over all of the stuff, we almost felt like it was a waste of time because it's stuff we've been doing for years with Joanna. Like the other counties, when they would talk about math talks, they were like, what's that? Or they would be they'd have so many questions and they had never heard about it. Or when they were talking about different math games or the tasks, they had never done this kind of stuff before. And it's stuff that we've done with Joanna for the past 10 years, I guess now. I didn't realize it's been that long, but it's been that long. So I feel like Pocahontas County is definitely ahead of where we need to be. But the downfall is that they expect the state wants to meet with this team once a month. And when we had our first meeting 2 weeks ago, we had to Some of us met here, there were some on a Teams meeting because we couldn't find a way to actually meet with the person from the state altogether. Because we were told there's no money to hire subs and there's no way to compensate. So we met during our lunch hour. Well, it was lunch and then somebody covered my recess duty so I could sit in here and meet with her. So it's a very important team, but I don't think it's being taken that seriously by everybody. But it's some, we were told like we couldn't even pay for our lunch. Like they just told us we need to find our own coverage.
And at Arlington Elementary, Shannon and I had a hard time finding a room that didn't already have somebody in it. Like midway through the meeting, we were in the computer lab, we had to leave to go to Janessa's room, so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But she does, yeah, I hope so. But she wants to meet with us once a month and share ideas. And actually she wants to take a lot of our ideas that are on our team's page to share with other counties because they're impressed with what we're doing.
Whenever you say they, who is they?
So the state contracted with one of the ESCs. the
No, I'm talking about are they, that they said they wasn't money.
Who told us, Stratico told us that we just had to do it during our lunch hour or during our lunch and our principal had to find coverage for us.
See, I just don't know if she understood the whole what it was, so I'll work with her.
Lisa, what you got?
All right.
Lisa's also on the team.
Lisa Harold, first grade, Marlton Elementary School. Joanna asked me to be on this team, and I'm just here to talk to you about kind of what teachers do. Joanna mentioned the third grade success act, and part of that is building intervention into our schedules. So we have any student, K through 3, who is significantly behind. So the kids in the red, when you first saw them, those kids in the red, we take those kids, we give them intensive intervention 2 days a week, small groups of kids, like we're talking kids who are below grade level with skills. They came to first grade not having first grade skills. And so we take those kids, we do intensive intervention, and I have an example of kind of what my documentation looks like with one of my students. Here you'll see the focus skill we worked on. And then what we did and kind of my notes, sorry, it's so sloppy, I didn't have time to rewrite it. So that allows me time to do these things. Those 2 30-minute blocks allows me time to do those that practice those skills with the students that's not during my regular math time. So you can see this student had a hard time at first just identifying numbers. So we were working on that pretty hard. Recognizing the numbers, one more, one less. So if I take time out of my regular math class, which is what I did before, to help those kids do that, then I'm not helping other students. So this intervention time really allows us to really get students practicing skills that they need. And with the other groups of kids, this is why our aides are so helpful. That was another part of the Third Grade Success Act was aides in the classroom. So the aides take bigger groups of kids who are on or above level, and they play math games. And so I'll be quick, but one of the ones we play is called Headband. So you guys have to help me figure out what number is on my head, okay? You can't tell me the number, but you can tell me how many more I need to make a 10.
You're gonna be an mover.
I did, it does have a number, right? Because sometimes I pull a card out and it's a king or something, and then
You need 9.
and so I need 9 more. So my number must be a 1. If I need 9 more to make a 10, it's a 9.
Depends on what you playing. Yeah.
That was a bad example. I think we should make sure.
Good card,
Show
smart.
another variation of
Texas
that?
Hold'em be proud of you.
Lisa, can I show another variation?
Yes.
Second grade. So second grade, it gets a little, it's the same type of game, but I would give,
Tomato soup. That's it.
don't look hard.
Yeah, Dana.
Good morning.
Come on, women.
Make it work for the
Now look at each other. The sum of your two numbers is 12. And the first to guess their number gets to keep the cards and the one that has the most points. Yes, so you would get the two cards and then we keep playing and the winner gets to be the judge in my room.
I couldn't do that, didn't have no fingers.
Take your shoes off.
Cool.
No, carry on. Okay, so what, one,
Well, I mean, no.
so, our aides and interventionists are awesome, and I will say an early win from this numeracy team was, we were kind of talking about how one of the huge issues is that interventionists don't necessarily have the training yet to help kids learn when it's hard to learn. It's easier to help kids learn when it's not hard for a kid to learn. So that's one of the reasons that we keep our highest need kids with the most skilled people. So we don't send the small group off with interventionists. We send interventionists off and aides with a big group. And this is one of our awesome new aides at Green Bank who came to a training that we were able to offer during parent-teacher conferences. All of our interventionist aides and our new elementary special ed teachers all got training, a half day on reading and half day on math. And she came back so inspired that she I love this. When I have an idea, people make it way better. It happens all the time. She took the game, made them big so more kids could play. And those kids wanted to tell me how awesome she was and how awesome those games were. So I wanted to shout out to her and the way that all of our aides are beginning to really personalize these toolkits. So they're not making up these games. They're all research-based games that I create for them. They're on a Teams page so they can access all of them. And they're also mental math routines that we're doing lots and lots of. So basically, we're trying to ask for the board's help to, this one I can force to send me things, proof that she plays at home. But to take this next step, we need parent and community support to work on fluency with kids. That means reading what kids want to read and playing the games that kids want to play. Not the old school making people unhappy drill over and over again, but instead let the kid teach you the game and play with them. Grandparents, church members, anybody who has kids that they love that are trying to get more fluent, and that goes all the way up through middle school. We're also trying to make connections kinesthetically and with songs. Miss Beta sings every day her supertized songs. And she has these yellow gloves that have digits on them so that the kids can see the digits as she's counting and dancing. That was a video once too. And finally, I want to uplift our community and schools. I actually, in mourning when Marcia decided to take that job because she and I worked really closely together for the last couple of years. And she really was an expert at helping kids get independent and fluent in second grade. And so she's decided to make that part of her goal, making learning fun at Green Bank. And I wanted to give her a shout out that she's doing these Math Minute videos where she works with me to make sure that the game is being taught the same way that I'm teaching all the aides the game. And then she makes videos with kids at Green Bank. So I just really wanted to appreciate her. We did do that training with all those folks, but I already said that. A couple more things in our strategic plan. We want to improve math. We always do. But in our strategic plan, it actually calls out we're working on leadership. And I just have this little stick here. This is the other half of my job is running this network, but our district participates in it and it started here. So this network at this point is 175 teachers in 36 districts and 8,000 kids. That started here in Pocahontas County. Yeah. Team members working on this is opt-in for middle and high school teachers only. And it's a lot of time to invent new ways to get students more engaged in mathematics. And Jennifer Neal Cook is our lead here, and Julie Brown and Rachel McComb are partnering with her. They're also partnering across district lines with some really excellent teachers in Nicholas County. They're working on student engagement and student talk. And just actually last week, I asked Lynn if she wanted me to submit a grant because there's grants available largely in part because of this project. It started here in Pocahontas County, and Billy Statler and Senator Grady worked together to make that funding available. So that's pretty exciting. We also have heard a lot from this year's seniors who, of course, are in a tough spot because they don't have a counselor and have had a period of time without one. But they really were uplifting and wanted to make sure I passed on to you how important, in particular, Miss Dilly has been to them and to their families. This kiddo went from what we would all say a super high ACT score is, and worked in that class and got all tuition covered. So she's not gonna have to pay a cent to go on to her next program. And it was just a really big deal for her. And she wants to be a vet, so it's gonna be really important to her that have calculus under her belt. And that's just the day and age that we're living in. I'm gonna turn over to Casey, who has a few more updates from the high school, and then we'll be done. Yeah, you go down to go up. It's super weird.
I just want to share a couple of fun things that we've been doing. Fun and close for some of us. I'm under no impressions that math is everybody's favorite, just because it's my favorite. So a big thing we like to do at the high school is like we like to make it some sort of relevant. And when you get into higher level math, like Joey's in our math 4 class right now, there's not a whole lot of real life applications to what to do with a conic section before you get into something that's way too complicated. So we like to change a little bit of what it means for it to be relevant. Miss Dilly is implementing some financial Fridays in her classroom. So far they've talked about checks and deposit slips. Students will fill out a check written to other teachers. I've had to sign the back of a few of them. They showed me exactly where I was supposed to do it. And understanding like the debits and the credits and a running balance, little things that we hear a lot from kids that they're not quite sure of, but they do have the skills, just kind of applying those. She wants to get into investments and stock markets and all the things, insurance, taxes, all that. So that's something she's been working on and kind of starting for us to see if we want to try it too. In our strategic plan, we base these off of our benchmark scores. We have been doing benchmark testing by choice. We only have state mandated testing in the spring for 11th graders. And we thought it was silly for the first time kids to really take a big break between seeing a big standardized test to be when it matters. So we started doing the PSAT 8-9 for 9th graders in the fall and the spring. And for 10th and 11th graders, they take the PSAT NMSQT, which stands for National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. Good job. I had to look it up before I wrote it down there. I can never remember the letters. They take that in the fall, and in the spring, the 10th graders will take a PSAT 10, and the 11th graders will take their regular SAT test that is for state benchmarking. We have looked at our scores from the last spring for 10th graders, because those are the kids that will be taking our next spring test. And we made some review lessons to teach every month to get some of those low-hanging fruit. Joey and I talked a lot in our class of when you're taking a test, that's not the time to learn something new. If you get to a question that you've never ever seen before, you call it a day, you put yes down, and you move on. What we want to focus on are those ones that when you look at it, you're like, oh, I just know that one. I know it, and try to shoot some of those, because the difference between we've seen a lot of kids between getting base scholarships is like 2 or 3 questions. We can shore that up. That's a good day for all of us. These are the results. We just recently got them back. This is what the kids did in the fall. The top 2, the school and the district are the same. We have 1 high school in our district. The third one down is for just public schools in the state. And the one after that is for all the schools in the state. There's a really marginal difference between those, which I find interesting. In my brain, it will be a bigger difference, but that's not actually true. We did score higher as a 9th grade class than everybody in the state. Something to note though is 5,000 kids in the whole state taking a test isn't a whole lot of kids. So not a lot of schools are taking these tests. Not a lot of, even less schools are making all of their kids take it. So that's something to keep in mind. A lot of these kids are ones that either opted in or doing the same thing we did. It's not a big section of them. But something very similar for the 10th grade. We are above state average in this one as well. Really marginal difference between public and all schools. Decently impressed with them. When you get to the 11th grade though, we did fall short of the state standardized test, which is a little bit interesting and it was a little concerning to see at first glance. Something I noted was that there are 2,000 some more kids that took this test than the other 2. Wow. Schools that push these tests, they push these tests to the kids that could qualify for national merit. We don't start thinking that kids maybe would qualify. You don't get to know until the summer of their senior year if they did qualify, because it is a sliding scale based off of that. A score you would need to get is 1,300 out of 1,500 to even think about qualifying for that. So when I looked up the 11th grade spring testers last year, and that was about 16,000. So essentially, you are testing the top half of your state with this test every fall. We fall short of the top half. I think it's in range. It's something for us to think about of how do we prep these kids better for, and Joey brought up a lot of good points, and his classmate brought up good points. How do we prep kids better for these National Merit Scholarships? It's in our brain to prep for the spring one. What about the fall one too? So, like I said, not wildly different. 20 points is about 2 questions, 3 questions. So it's not a huge gap. It's not something wildly concerning. It's not putting up alarms, but it is something for us to know. Reading was something fun. Actually, I don't know if it's an ending. Our kids told us that they want to have fun in school. Here at the end. So we designed as a math department a trick or treat activity. Students had these papers fill out. And they had to answer questions if they got them right. They were given little pieces of candy, put in their buckets. They put them in their buckets, and then at the end of the class period, they got to exchange them for little gifts like erasers, pencils. We had these little tiny resin ducks. It was a big deal which one you got to get. It was a big deal who had to go first. I was not prepared for that. But it was something that made me more enjoy what I do in a day. It's a little bit of that making meaning, like, do I want to graph this thing? Maybe not, but I will do it for a duck. And we had a recent graduate come back who is taking a computer science field. He is currently going to Harvard. That's Silas Riley. He's in the middle there. He blends in a little bit, but he has the big yellow visitors tag. He came to talk to our ACT, SAT prep class about some of the things that he's encountered recent. Our kids told us they want to hear more from recent graduates. They could listen to me, they could listen to you, but college has changed a lot in the last decade. They want to hear from the kids that are right there right now. So he came back to talk about some of the things that he struggled with, some of the things that he benefited from, things he wished he would have done when they were their age, before it was too late. And they had a pretty good time. And this weekend, we have our first ever home tournament for Vex Robotics. It's either on the last agenda or this agenda. If you've noticed, all of our robotics trips are in Morgantown or Bridgeport or Fairmont or Charleston, a million billion miles away, and hotel rooms are $1 billion. We said, why can't we do that here? And Miss Namcook, she put a lot of work into it, and Paul and Kieran also did a lot of work. So they decided, place is just as good as their place. Let's have a tournament. So if anybody's interested in volunteering, that is a Saturday.
It's coming Saturday.
This Saturday after school. You can send an email to Miss Nam about it if you know anybody that wants to volunteer. If your kid wants to volunteer.
You don't need to know anything about it.
I asked that question because I was like, hey, I don't know anything about these little robots. They have a new game each year. This game, they have to build a robot that picks up this ring and then puts it somewhere else. It's crazy. It's really
sock them.
right. It's really good. You don't need to know anything. You just need to be able to do a little bit of manual labor. So in between, they have a horse in between matches and stuff. They have to move around what the thing is and where it goes for other places. So they need a couple people to run. So the people who do know what's going on don't have to do that and can answer questions.
Some of you may be in style, because that's where I'll be on Saturday. Okay.
But if you know anybody, send them our way. We have for any and all help. No skills required. I'm at here with the skills and I'm perfectly good for volunteer. And I believe this is our last little note. We had some students that were on I believe it was an extracurricular team last year. That part of what they did with their STEM field is they made something that got a patent.
I saw that.
I don't even know.
Incredible.
I don't even know where you would start to get that done, but they did it done. And that's pretty impressive to us.
Yeah. Kids in our system doing something that's never been done.
Really,
And we cannot explain. So you'll have.
I don't know what it is, and I don't know how it works or why. But all 4 of those children could. Willie is currently a senior, and then Tristan.
It is an automatic door opener, and it is an assistive device for folks who have doors around them and can't be opened. So,
Going around, door shut.
Yeah, very impressive. Tristan and Duncan are currently 9th graders. Yeah, they have a whole lot left of high school left in them, and they already have a patent under their belt.
But it is a nod to Green Observatory as well, because our kids are getting to work directly with not just the computer software engineers, but also their mechanics shop, which is just the best thing that I've ever seen in terms of, like, they can build anything
Yeah.
out of aluminum there. And they're, those kids are able to work, our kids are able to work with those folks. Just really, really incredible. So a lot of teachers, parents, community members going extra miles to, you know, out punch our weight class, which is what's going on here right now. So thank you so much, especially to this numerous team, underfunded and too much volunteering. Thank you for you as well, Casey, for coming in. Thanks to you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. You know, and thanks for, you know, I think up here, we get wrapped up in energy savings and replacing gym floors and electrical equipment, but our primary focus should be on growing kids and academics. You're exactly right. And we lose track of that. So
Safe environment.
you're doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
You're welcome.
Great work.
Thanks, Sue.
Okay, approval of the following consent financial requirements. A is payment of vendor listing for $82,599.86. I need a motion first.
I have to step out differently, Rich. Oh, so moved. I'll second.
Make the
Motion.
second.
I'm just gonna read all these, okay? That's fine. Okay.
Payment of local government
Purchasing cards for $112,349.78. C, October the 18th, 2024 employee payroll, $293,420.31.
extra duty pay for the month of October 24th, $14,868.53. E is grant award.
F is
Pocahontas County School summary of schedule and revenue and expenditures on the cash basis for the month ending in October the 24th. And G is budget adjustments. And please let the record show that Mr. McCombs has stepped out. He's not in the room whenever we vote on it. All these in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Carries. Somebody kill Morgan and speak and head back in. So you did vote yes on that, didn't you? Okay. You won. Okay, under miscellaneous, number 7, approval of the Purple Heart resolution for the 24-25 school year. Have a motion. Mr. Secretary, I'll make a motion, and Mr. McNabb seconds.
And Mrs. Spencer is here and this is really her,
Expertise.
yes. Do you want to have any questions or you want her to explain the?
Does anybody have a question?
Is Purple Star is supporting military families, so any family member that is active duty, whether they're employed or just in reserves or National Guard, we just make extra effort to touch base with those families and to make sure that they don't fall through the cracks or fall behind. So this is something that is every 4 years. So we were one of the first counties in the state to be the entire county, all 5 schools that committed to this. We do 2 military activities in each school year, predominantly many more military activities. I know the high school started with shoe boxes. So every PCH graduate that has that is active duty still. So there's some that are lifetime that are still in, they receive shoe boxes at Christmas time. Things that the community's donated and the newspaper or cards and letters that students have written. It's kind of a little hodgepodge of boxes that they receive. We also have career day that the military is in the schools during career days and military signing day at the high school. We also recognize the month of the military, which is the month of November with Veterans Day. We have Veterans Day presentations at all of the schools.
Mm-hmm.
And then in April, there is 1 week that is also designated as recognition of military.
And to say, one of the things that's really touched my heart was when the high school, the students came to the school, just like the elementary school. Go ahead and explain that.
So the military children, so their parents are active duty in some way. The high school and in the spring, those students that are part of the Purple Star Club,
go to all of the schools in the county, kind of just like a few hours each school and do a little tour and talk to those military kids. And it is really neat to hear those conversations and to see that, oh, really, your dad's in too? Well, mine's been in 20 years, or mine's been, like, to have that human connection that someone else gets what they go through. That's kind of cool.
Any questions, Ms. Spencer? No. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And so it is Purple Star.
Yeah, it's purple.
Purple star.
Sorry. Sorry. Purple Star. And as of note, Morgan and Sam and myself all have kids that are active duty.
I think Patrick likes the best, he's a little Henry notes.
I-
That's what, really.
Connor hangs him up. And I told him this year was the first time since he signed that I was able to get through the Veterans Day ceremony without crying. So he's like, "Huh?" Yeah. It's a tough one.
Watch the news totally different.
You watch everything totally different.
Guaranteed. We've been waiting a month ago.
Was it really?
He's on now.
Well, I appreciate everything that this is done.
Who's doing the shoe boxes this year?
Lois and Aaron, at the high school are doing, because each school has someone designated in support of, this program. And the two of them wanted to tag team the high school. They said it was big shoes to fill because it needed to.
Oh, I heard all about it last year. Every evening.
It is. Well, even just, we do a PowerPoint of all of the students and then tracking them down because, as you know, military kids move a lot, or anyone in the military. So trying to track those addresses down every year is a
And
tough
then
job.
all that stuff is the.
Mailing all of that stuff. We have a lot of community support, our honor corps and veterans programs, and then the county all donate money to put for the packaging and the mailing. Just mailing the boxes costs a lot. But it's all, volunteer and donation support.
Number 8, approval for Aaron Pugh and 60 students from Pocahontas County High School to go on a field trip to the Marnington, West Virginia Courthouse and Mayor's Office on November the 15th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So maybe.
Mr. McCombs made the motion. Any second?
Second.
Mr. McNabb, second. Any questions on going to the courthouse? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 9 is approval of electric waiver for one senior student due to out-of-county transfer.
This is out of country.
Out of
And
country.
that's where, the student comes in and does not have all the requirements for electives in the other country that he attended. And so he comes here and if he is required to take all the electives, he will not be able to graduate in time. So we work with the State Department and they, so all we have to do is ask for you all to approve that we waive those electives for this one student.
Do I have a motion?
So is this a good thing?
Do I have a second?
Yes.
Okay. I'll say Mr. McNabb, second. Okay, now you can ask questions. Did you get an answer?
So it's just so that he can graduate with
Yes, ma'am.
his class.
Is he here now?
Yes.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
He was like, yes, he's the lady. Number 10 is an approval of a memorandum of understanding, MOU, between Pocahontas County Board of Education and Pocahontas County Emergency Management 911 Center to access for school campers to provide live situation awareness for first responders in the event of an emergency. Do I have a motion?
So maybe.
Second.
I have a second. Any questions, Jenny?
And we do have,
We've got them sitting here if you need to ask me anything. I don't have a question.
The only thing I have is this okay with Mr. Long and, our legal team, everything?
We've been working even with the previous administration on this. Mr. Long, or I assume he's still the county representative for the Board of Education representative, your legal counsel. He created this, it went to our legal counsel, it's been back and forth, this is adopted created the most of this.
So they're happy with it.
The piece that was giving everybody a little heartburn in the beginning was the access to the pre-recorded information. That's not what we're after. We're after only live feed data. So in the event of the unthinkable with a school, we've got eyes in the building, relay your response, what's happening. I mean, it's common sense approach here. We don't want to go back and review any data, and there was some misunderstanding about how secure a facility is at the Pocahontas County 911 Center because of our CJIS data, which is Criminal Justice Information Systems data. We're a very secure facility. Our staff has take that very serious, sign memorandums of agreements to not discuss anything that they see right here. We're a very secure facility is what I'm getting at. There shouldn't be any concerns. But like the general public can just walk in and see what's going on. Right. So.
And we realize that we have an emergency situations. Just, they need to know where, you know.
That's a great idea.
You can't put a value on eyes in the building in the situation with the communication with the folks going to handle that issue.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 11 is approval for the Pocahontas County High School robotics team to travel overnight on the following dates and locations to participate in B5 tournaments. Morgantown, West Virginia, December 13th and 14th. Ripley, West Virginia, January 17th and 18th. Beckley, West Virginia, February 7th and 8th. Huntington, West Virginia, February the 28th, March 1st. Fairmont, West Virginia, March 15th through 17th, pending qualification. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Sue seconded. Any questions about either one of these robotic places? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 12 is approval of Pocahontas County cheer team with Coach Bridget, how you pronounce that name, Cover? 13 students and parents to stay overnight in Bridgeport, West Virginia on November the 8th, 2024 to participate in a regional cheer competition at Lincoln High School. I have a motion. Motion, have a second?
Second.
And this was what I emailed you all because of the date. And that was, you know, it's a new cheer coach. We discussed with Ms. Taylor, Ms. Rose Taylor, and the coach. So
We
yes,
have approved it really.
right.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Now it's officially done. We've done it by email. Number 13, approval of MOU between the Pocahontas County Schools and Glenville State University for dual credit pathing agreement. Have they made? Morgan made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Hollingsworth seconds. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Motion carries. And then we,
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
we cut out number 14. It's no longer available. Number 15 is approval of consultant services agreement between Pocahontas County Schools and Education System Solutions. Brian Withrow, president, to provide on-site coaching best practices for school administrators. See attachment. I have a motion.
So moved.
Morgan made a motion to have a second.
Second.
Mrs. Hollingsworth seconded. So you're leaving me hanging out.
I'm waiting for Miss Sue.
So Christy provided me just a few notes about this. She's heard Mr. Withrow and his group speak a couple different years at the special education conference. And so she has talked to him about coming to help with schedules, data, climate and culture. It really was because we know that a lot of changes start with the leadership at each school. And as I told some of them today, I said, when we had our Tuesday talks, I said, you know, I go to sessions. I'm a member of the Association of School Administrators. Ms. Tridico is constantly going pre-K, special ed, you know, elementary, whatever, federal programs, you know, Ms. Shiplett goes, Mr. Gibson goes to trainings. But for them to get out of their schools and go to a conference, unless, for instance, Green Bay, since they were a comprehensive school of improvement, they go to trainings. So we decided to bring training here.
Yeah.
And so this contract would allow Mr. Withrow to, and his group, to work with the principals in county on whatever their needs may be. So that's That's what it is. And we're utilizing federal funds, Title Five funds for this, not.
Any questions?
No, ma'am. That's all.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 16, approval of 2 additional fundraisers for Green Bank Elementary Middle School for the 24-25 school year, and Martington Middle School is also going to sell spices.
Seconded.
Have a second.
I'll second that.
Mr. Gibson, second.
I did want to explain because last time when somebody said, what is this fundraiser? And I didn't have the information. So I did ask Green Bank to provide me some information about their fundraisers. The buy a seat, Chloe said, is like buying a brick, like, you know, when people do that. So they are fundraising to purchase new bleachers so they will buy a seat at a set price. And then the pick a date, which I think we may have had before, and it was what I think Mr. McNabb said, the students receive a calendar for a particular month and they have to find sponsors to donate for that particular date. So for example, if I sponsored October 10th, then I would give them $10.
They get 10, yeah, they get 10 chances, 30 in the end. Got some prizes.
Football pool. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 17, approval of county policies based on technical changes or changes in West Virginia State Code. And you all can read them. I need a motion.
I'll second.
Morgan made a motion and Mr. McNabb second.
And I'll go ahead and explain that these are just technical changes when, you know, that some of them say a shall, when they say it should say a will or vice versa. And then also changes to state code, which required change to the policy. I dug into the ones that I need to put on public comment, but that's coming soon. And I do again have to thank Heather Simmons at Hillsborough for her work with this, because she's really, you know, I said, okay, we need a new batch of policies and let's make sure that we're plugging along here, getting these updated. So that's why you have this long list every once in a while.
Any questions? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 18 is approval of parent and community volunteers. Number 18. Do I have a motion? Made a motion, have a second. Second. Mr. McNabb, second. Everybody look over the list, have any questions?
No.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Number 19 is approval of service and professional personnel. Do I have a motion? Have a second? Boston seconded. Mrs. Boston.
Green Bank Elementary Middle School retirement, Marilyn Beveridge as teacher of kindergarten effective the end of day on November 30th, 2024. Resignation of Andrew Landers as school counselor effective October the 28th, 2024. Volunteer Jennifer Chestnut and Melissa Taylor as volunteer basketball coach for the girls for the 24-25 athletic season. Hillsborough Elementary School unpaid medical leave for Dana Cutliff effective October 31st, 2024 for a period up to 12 weeks. Marlington Middle School volunteer Philip Anderson as volunteer basketball coach for the boys for the 24-25 athletic season. Pocahontas County High School Robert Jordan as custodian 3. He was hired on October 25th. This was the last day that I could hire without your approval. Go ahead with effective start date of October 28th for 155 days for the remainder of the 24-25 school year and shall be 220 days each year thereafter. Unpaid medical leave for Melinda Ruth at Pocahontas County High School effective October the 9th, 2024 for a period of 12 weeks through November 20th. Creation of a position, Dean of Students, as Pocahontas at Pocahontas County High School. This will require the applicant to be enrolled in or enroll in the future in a school counseling program. Pocahontas County Schools employment of the following substitute secretary accountant for Pocahontas Schools at a state minimum service personnel salary for the 24-25 school year is Kimberly Murphy. Employment of the following substitute special education classroom aides at a state minimum service personnel salary is Carrie Curry. And employment of the following as a substitute custodian at the state minimum service personnel pay for the 24-25 school year is Stephanie Aaron Boone. And employment of the following substitute teacher for Pocahontas County at the state minimum professional salary for 24-25 school year is Catherine. She's retired Title I teacher from Green Bay. Employment of Crystal Keatley as volunteer softball coach effective for the 24-25 athletic season, and employment of Jeanette Wagner and Tina Tracy as teachers of homebound students at $25 per hour as needed with homebound placement for the remainder of the school year.
I have a question.
Alan Taylor.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Volunteer Alan Taylor, sorry.
Oh.
Agreement.
Yes, basketball coach.
Yes, Ms. Hollingsworth, go ahead.
Okay, the dean of students position that you're creating, is that because we can find a counselor that will stay with us?
Well, it is for the high school because we have posted the high school counseling position. Of course, now we'll have to post the Green Bank position again as well. But at the high school, we have posted it already numerous times all school year. And we have had, occasionally we have an applicant and we pulled it, Ms. Nicole Rose was ready to interview. And then the person would say, I've accepted another position. So we would post again. So I've been working with the certification office at the West Virginia Department of Education, as well as Stephanie Hayes, who's over counseling. And so, and we talked to Ms. Hayes about this back in the early fall when the State Department was at the high school. And, we have some options because it's the way it states you have to offer a school counselor. So I said, when you say offer, that doesn't mean like I have to, can I offer the school counseling option with a contracted person on an as-need basis, which is what we're going to do at this point, since we cannot get a qualified applicant at the high school. To be a qualified counselor, you have to have the master's in school counseling. It can't be a master's in counseling. It has to be a master's in school counseling. Because I also said, we have youth health services and the community care. We have counseling services. But the certification and the state code requires us to have a school counselor. So the creation of this dean of students, and I'm working with Jason Long's group on the actual posting. We've had some samples from other high schools in the state, and we're creating using those as samples as well as what our attorneys will help us with that posting. So, and we want to put in this posting that they either have to currently be enrolled in the program or be, agree to enroll to become a school counselor. And we really need at this point, somebody who will work with schedules with students, transcripts, that kind of that would be part of a school counselor's work, but that's what we're really going to need for right now. Mrs. Rose Taylor said she really doesn't want the scout counselor to be involved in the discipline. She still wants to handle that. So I'm working with her as well as what areas that this dean of students would be in charge of. But we are working with, like I say, we were on a call the other day with a conference call with the, like I say, certification department as well as the head of counseling at the state.
I never to be a dean of students, you have to have a bachelor's degree.
Correct.
Does it have to be in education, or can it be a bachelor's degree in it?
Well, that's what we have been debating, because you can put it just as a bachelor's degree. Or some counties actually have it as a master's in education of some field of education. So that's why we're working with legal as well, to make sure, because different counties have posted it different. Some,
Being student type.
I knew.
oh, we did.
Watched.
Well, yeah,
Back, I wondered if we could still have that old.
it was under, Tom Sanders was principal
Okay.
there.
We had dean of students working in school.
We did.
So like I said, we want this person
To get certified to be a school counselor. So, and so what my plan is, and I've reached out to one retired high school counselor. And this person said, I might be interested. I said, well, I have to get this approved first and then we'll go with that. But if we would just have, a retired counselor from another county that would be willing to be on call for us, and then we'd have to work out that payment plan, and that'll be another contract, right, to work on. But that's kind of where they're leading us now, because we cannot fill it. We're not the only county in the state that needs counselors right now, and that's why, when we get it, we had a certified applicant, they went elsewhere. And I guess we've already posted for Mr. Landers.
Any other questions? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, matters of the board, Mr. Combs.
Mr. Ryan touched on it, the county are on the way to coalition and reaching out for help with the quiet thing. And I feel like it's a board. That's something we need to do, just let our voice be heard. And, when prime example, at the last board meeting, I was adjusting the hinges on a door in Greenberg County. And the teacher was doing math assessments, and all the little kids are sitting with their tablets. And kids would be kids, and this little boy started interacting one day. And she just looked at him and said, and he got up to his little tablet, went over and sat with the other kids. No interruption, no nothing. You think about that as compared to Green Bank. It would have been a whole discipline issue to get him to quiet down. You couldn't separate him. And that just really hit home with me.
And he can only move as far as his cord will go.
Yeah, and that just really hit me of how disadvantaged they are. Like I say, it was the next day, and all she did was.
Right.
I assume he probably had behavioral issues before we seen it.
He knew exactly what she was talking about.
He just got walked away. We can't do that, Green. And we live in a technology world.
Right.
It prohibits us a lot, it puts him behind the eight ball. And Mr. Gibson?
Well, I agree with Morgan. What, you thinking write a letter of support to this, Morgan, or something, what do you?
I'm thinking we maybe have something for the next board meeting, like a letter, or maybe Christie could write up for, she understands technology end up more than I would.
The county's wrote resolutions is how they did.
They did resolutions.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was reading that in the paper.
Yeah, I have several things, sir. And these are all from the community. I have some parents at Marlinson Middle School are complaining and concerned about an swing in students fighting. She said she's had several, her child in particular has had several issues with being in fights. The community's not really happy about the new attendance policy, Mrs. Foster.
They need to speak to their legislators, their representatives.
So-
Did not come from us, did not come from the Department of Education.
So are we following what other counties are doing with this?
We are following.
Everybody's adapting the same way then? Okay.
But no, they need to speak to their representatives.
Right, okay, all right, I'll pass that too. What is, and this is, I don't really know what this means, but what is our flexibility with coding things co-curricular.
I'm not sure what the,
Context of it,
yeah.
In reference to attendance,
co-curricular. I think it is a reference to attendance.
we have no flexibility at this time. It came down, they're either here or they're not.
Either.
In previous years, you could say, well, they're on an academic trip of some sort, or they're doing an academic thing. This is definitely something that needs pushed at the legislative issue because it's going to hurt a lot of programs. For example, 4-H that shows at the fair used to be an academic day, meaning that didn't count against their attendance because that was an important learning part of 4-H. Now it counts against their attendance. So I think this legislative decision was made without actually understanding the nuts and bolts of what that looks like for families and children and programs. So.
And I did speak with Ms. Massesso, and they are working as the WU Extension Service also in, saying, think about,
Well, WVU got blindsided. I mean, they are the big entity behind 4-H. This decision was made without seeing the ramifications. Even the ham, bacon, egg sale, kids leaving my school to go up to the high school and cut, that used to be an allowable academic day for them. It is not now. As soon as they leave my doors, they're counted absent. So this is hurting a lot of programs and a lot of things. Or field trips or things that families would do. We're close to Greenbrier County. I have families that leave and go take swimming classes or go take dance classes. Well, those absences are just absence. Previously, I would excuse it as an academic because it was only an hour of their day, and I would work with their coaches there for the class period and say it is a PE or it's an extra art curriculum or it's a music class that we don't provide here, but they provide there. I no longer have that flexibility.
It's just, they're absent, they're absent.
They're absent, they're absent.
It's really going to affect the rodeo club that we have.
Oh, yeah.
They're asking for it.
Yeah, it's affecting because they gotta go and travel and.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Where are we at with the grant with the county commission to wrap up the old board bill? I mean, is that still?
Yeah, I'll have to ask Ms. Rackle.
Well, I want to make sure we don't let the county commissions just dissolve that if there's any money left in that grant.
Morgan, do you know any details?
I just know I heard on the radio, they're discussing the upcoming discussions at the county commission meeting, and that was on there tonight. So,
Dwayne, do you have any?
One thing I know that we can't be used for anything to be built now, just the renovation is the tear down for that structure. We did apply for a grant for some fencing and different things like that, and see what we'll know more about that a little later on. Because I look at it now as a liability too. I mean, we've got a 3-foot drop off roughly on the far end of that concrete slab and it needs addressed. We applied for a grant that was put together sort of in a hurry. We found out about it, had about a week to go through something.
We don't talk to the county commissioner for any money to fix that. We can do that. But that is part of the demolition.
Yeah, part of the demolition, but we can't use the leftover funds from the demolition for any kind of.
No, we could use it to fix that. Because that's part of the demolition. The 3-foot drop.
Oh, well, maybe.
Demolition cost it.
Well, demolition, I talked about it, doing like 3-to-1 slope on that, just sloping the ground off.
Well, it depends on how you ask the question.
But you would have, then you'd have to have a permit, I think, to do any filling in the town.
floodplain.
What's that?
Yes.
Well, I think you'd do that by permit. Oh. Later on,
Have a flood zone coordinator to come and take a look at it.
probably.
I just want to make sure that if there's any money left over, that we try and recoup that. I mean, that's what I like to see.
You know what? Mr. Anderson, even from the elementary school, had reached out and asked if they could use any of those funds for shelters or any kind of improvements, and basically the answer is no.
If you work for demolition.
Right, demolition,
Okay.
What it's not, you should probably have to go back.
probably so.
Here's one. the community is really worried about the state accountability audit at the high school and upcoming RIF season and budget info associated with that. I mean, they still want, there was at our last meeting, Mr. and Mrs. Sizemore, and there's others out there that want to know about the accountability audit, which I guess that's going to come out soon. And they're concerned about the RIF season and what that'll do to their teaching staff there and of course all.
The question to ask is, when does Shirley have to have the 24-25 budget due?
She's not on here. I can't give you an exact.
But it's soon, isn't it?
Mhm.
We need to go over that budget.
Yeah, we need to go
To
to
have a budget meeting, and that budget meeting, because Sunshine Law has to be open to the public and they can come. And then everybody should know whether we have to, if there are any changes or whether we don't have. You agree with that?
Yeah.
And sometimes it may take a couple meetings to go through that because it's, it's line item by line item.
And then I believe that the session that we're attending is on personnel. And that's one of the reasons I want to go members when they go on Saturday. So that you understand the state code and what can be provided to the public and what can be provided to you all. And, it's one I did hear from another superintendent of training last week about, that's why she said, every board member, every board meeting, talk about the numbers in the schools, talk about, the decline in enrollment, talk about the sizes of classes, which I'll get into, later, but it was just so that you all have the information building up to personnel season.
Right. That's what this person was talking about, reflecting on RIF season. And my last saying is, and I will quote, "Why the hell do the kids need to be off all day for parent-teacher conferences?" Unquote. So I really don't have an idea about that, but I do know that we were off all day that day. I mean,
That was.
did people come in and utilize that?
Yes. Do you want to speak on behalf of Hillsborough?
We have a pretty high percentage that definitely come in. We send out, here's your time slots, and there was very few vacancies. And we're a small school, so if you're thinking mine have, 15 parents to meet with, Marlington or Greenbank might have 25 parents to meet with within a day, and we were slamming it at, 15, 20 minutes a parent. When you have twice as many that you're trying to meet with, or at the high school level, when you're meeting with 60-some parents and trying to do those time slots, there is no way to do that in just a couple of hours.
So, okay.
And so I know, for instance, at Marlington Middle School, I talked to one of the parents, and they said they really appreciated the time, but they didn't meet with all the teachers at one time. They met with the science teacher, then they had an appointment with the English teacher and, math, and they said it was all scheduled, went well, but they appreciated it.
Well, this parent is wasn't a big fan of it, but that's okay. I'm just repeating it.
Here's the flip side of it, and this is something that I think we kind of take for granted. In previous years, we asked staff to work over 3 hours and unpaid. When you try to ask the pharmacist to stay over 3 hours until you can get there, or the bank to stay open, nobody else thinks that's just part of their job.
Right.
But as a community, we think it's okay for teachers to work and not get paid. So this is the flip side. We can't keep asking teachers and staff to give up their family's time so that someone else can have their family time. That's not fair.
It's not.
And, they're not the highest paid individuals in the world, but the least we can do is respect their family time.
Used to be give them time off too, and you can't do that anymore.
You can't do that. We can't pay them. We can't give them time off. We can't trade time.
So this was the way to get, and I thought it was
thinking about the third grade success act too. We need to get that communication with those parents so they know where their student is at this time. Are they going to be successful in that grade? And we don't want to wait until the end of the school year. We need to do it now.
Well, I did not have a problem with it. I told her so, but it was a question. No, yes.
Wonder what the actual percentage is the parents coming in.
I didn't ask for the exact percentage. I did kind of just see, and they were all good. I mean,
We can, track that. I don't have them in the top of my head.
Was it high? I mean, that's what I'm wondering.
When we do student-led conferences, we usually run about 75 to 80% because the students are saying, here's my work, here's what I learned, here's what I'm doing. When we have one-on-one with parents and teachers, it's a little bit lower. It's usually 55 to 60% of parents come.
See, now there's the problem. If we're gonna complain about it, complain what our child's doing, show up at school,
Show up.
and find out.
And we staggered the times this year too, so that we could accommodate parents in different schools.
right. And also those who worked. Some of the schools, the staff agreed they worked like maybe a 10 to 6 day in order to accommodate work schedules.
And we also work together for families. So we'll pull all the family ones and then go from this teacher to this teacher to this teacher, so they're not consuming that parent's day. So it's not a small task.
Yeah.
But
I don't think the public understands what all is involved in making this happen.
But I can get the percentages.
That's just,
Thank you. And I want, my last thing, sir, is just to encourage the teachers. You all are doing such a great job. I mean, I see you guys out there in the classroom and everything, and I want you, all of you to know big difference. That's it, sir.
Mr. McNair.
I think Sammy summed up, asked most of the questions that's been brought to my attention. Miss Sue.
Miss Hollingsworth.
I just want to reiterate how proud we should be of Hillsborough for, being 45th in the state. That's quite an accomplishment. And the math program, the successes that they've seen through all the grades, even though sometimes the high school looks lower, but they're still better than they were. And a concern for the special ed student services. We need to really start looking at that a little more carefully. And especially changing minutes or altering IEPs. That's all.
February, I think I got an email today from Jim Brown, February the 7th, there's going to be a state board meeting or board meeting for us from the School Board Association. At Marriott in Charleston, that is where we go to meet our legislatures. I think that was what was in that email. I think I'm gonna go to that meeting. And if somebody else wants to go with me, Frosty, if you want to go to that meeting or.
I'm going to one Saturday.
Yeah.
And I'll see what's going on.
Yeah, I think it's, but I think I'm planning on going right now. I'll tell Sherry later. But I think it would be good if we went down there and lobbied for some of this safe school stuff. The pros.
So when did you get that email?
I think it come today. I think it come today and I was reading it before I left.
Okay, I was up at the high school this afternoon and then came to yours.
Friday, February 7th and Saturday, February the 8th.
Did he send that to her?
Yeah,
I'm sure he sent that to you. If he didn't, I will.
Okay.
I think it said in here, meet the legislature, what I was reading. Connection between county board employees, but usually that's a meeting where you do, or it has been in the past.
Yes, I've been to, I was
Yeah, if that's what it is, then I'll, on Saturday, the delegate assembly will meet at 8 o'clock in the Canoga County, Blue Ridge Conference Room.
Yeah, he sent it to 412 people.
Yeah. So, you know, that's a good meeting to go to, but then we can lobby our legislature for them pro, I think we need so badly. And, you know, next thing I'd like to say is congratulations to Mr. McNabb on his election victory.
Thank you all.
Anybody else got anything else?
I think the county spoke loud and clear on Austin.
I think they did
I
that.
appreciate your support. Hope, like I say, if we all work together, we can make great things happen. That's a fact.
And you know, I know we're going out virtually. I don't see who all's on there because I can't see that far. But, you know, the people don't understand that they can stay home. If they want to know what's going on at a board meeting, they can watch this. And there's no reason to say, I don't know anymore. Board meetings are open to the public. Anybody can walk in. You know, I know I get a lot of questions in IGA and Dollar Store and, you know, but that's not a board meeting. Our next Board of Education meeting will be held on Tuesday, December the 3rd, 2024, beginning at 3:30 at Martin Elementary for an LSIC strategy planned meeting, followed by the regular board meeting at 4:45 p.m. Any questions? Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Mr. McCollum made the motion, Mr. Gibson second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are by adjourned. That's right in the middle of my deer season. All do know that. How you turn?
Why ain't you turning it on?
No, I'm only calling.